Oh yes, guilty movie pleasure fans. Hawaii is a beautiful place to visit, but you wouldn't want to die there. Because today we're covering the cult classic, Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movie. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasure.
Yes! Get that real theme song in.
There it is.
I can hit that falsetto pretty good,
You
right?
did very well.
It's not paradise all the time. You know, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
I love this theme song.
Nowhere is.
So much.
You know what I mean?
Let's get right into this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are here with Guilty Movie Pleasures and a very special episode. Not only are we covering Hard Ticket to Hawaii, a cult classic from the 80s, we also have the producer and wife of the late, great Andy Sidaris here. She's ARLENE Sidaris. You can find all of their movies, the Lethal Ladies series, all 12 of them, on andysidaris.com. They're coming out 2x2 from Mill Creek Entertainment on Blu-ray and high-def new transfers.
Yes.
ARLENE, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for coming
My
on.
pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Did I get everything right? I think
You
I got
did.
everything right.
Yeah, so far
My
so
brain
good.
just went like on caffeine overdrive, and I was like, I'm gonna figure this
And
out.
that's a
You're
wrap
good.
on us. I
That's
guess
it.
we'll see you next week, folks.
Well, that was fun.
Now, ARLENE, we got Jesse and I, because Ryan made us aware of this film, because I had seen some of these, if I'm being perfectly honest, as a 13-year-old boy, renting them and sneaking watching bits and pieces of them when my parents were asleep. And ironically, my parents are visiting right now, so hopefully they're not watching. But I'd seen like Return to Savage Beach, Guns, a few of these, a few of them, like I said, sporadically hiding in my
So you
downstairs.
saw it as a 13-year-old boy. So this was like your bar mitzvah.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
This turned you into a
This
man.
turned,
Yeah.
Andy Sidaris
yeah.
turned me into a man.
Yeah.
Oh, and he
that
would
makes
love
sense.
knowing that.
Well, and here's the crazy thing. Like, we were talking before the show about this. If you're not familiar with the Lethal Ladies series, there is what some might say, I don't necessarily agree, what some might say a gratuitous amount of nudity, but I would say it's more comparatively to nowadays.
Oh.
It's tame.
Oh, it's very tame,
And
very tame.
artfully done to a degree.
Oh,
you know?
especially the line, let's go to the hot tub.
We have that clip.
I do my best thinking
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
But
That
you-
was taken from real life.
Yeah. You can find more graphic and gratuitous sex scenes in a standard HBO or Netflix show nowadays than in any one of these movies. But when I discovered this as a teenager, because I was raised pre-internet, so like dial-up internet happened when I was a teenager, and so this stuff was like mind-blowing. And now watching it as an adult and seeing it with a packed audience, we got to see it at the Egyptian, where you and Dona Speir introduced it and gave us a little Q&A beforehand. Ironically, weirdly enough, double feature with Jaws. How did that come about?
Oh my God! Well, that was ACFA. That was the people who I've signed with to release the films theatrically.
Yeah.
When I saw that booking, I nearly fainted.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Yeah. And I guess it's because it was the July 4th weekend, and
Yeah.
they always showed Jaws, and I guess they thought we were a good match.
Well,
I was thrilled.
To be honest, I found it completely appropriate because Jaws is about a killer shark and there was a killer snake in this movie, and I felt a lot of
Like a cousin sequel.
Yeah,
Cousin,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
absolutely, a lot of connection there. I felt.
And I was telling you this. I saw you briefly at the screening, and I almost didn't make it out because I have family visiting. And then I saw the trailer, and I was like, I have to see this with
On the big
with
screen.
a crowd in 35 millimeter. And from minute one of this movie, in fact, we'll play the first sound clip, Ryan, if you can cue that up, the body heat one, because from like minute one, people were on board with the tone of
Yes.
it and cracking up. And even you saw when they asked, the moderator asked how many people had seen it, and I'd say maybe a third to half.
Yeah.
And the other half were complete newbies like me and Jesse. Ryan had seen it, who is our producer who's with us. But like, so the entire audience, new and old fans, were on board from minute one. Can we play clip number one? Because this is hysterical.
Here we go.
You should get in, Rowdy. The water is great.
Are you kidding? I've got better things to do with my body temperature.
They screamed at that. Every screening that I've been to, they scream at that. I've just
Just never heard it phrased quite that way before, and it had a nice ring.
Now, when you and Andy were making these films, was that considered a joke line or just like a sexy line or what? Like, you know how certain things from the 80s age differently now and have this kind of fun, nostalgic charm to it that modern movies can't accomplish.
Yeah. Well, there are very few lines that are mine in the 12 films, but that was mine.
Yeah?
It was.
That's awesome.
Right. And there's another one, but I don't know if the clip is up. And
Which was that one? It's okay. We can come back to it. We can come back to it.
Come back to it.
Well, so talk to us a little bit about that process then, because is that on set? Are you reading the script and then saying, it would be great right here?
No, that was on set. It was a little flat without we needed something.
A little spiciness in there.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the other one was in Hard Ticket, and they're walking into the restaurant, and the maitre d' says to Donna, do you want to sit on my face? And she says, why? Is your nose bigger than your dick?
So good. That line was hysterical.
Yeah.
There's another line. The maitre d' is a real sleazeball in that movie.
Yeah.
In this movie, and one of the lines I didn't get it in time today, but one of the hilarious. I wanted to know who came up with this, which was, if you go down on her later, you'll be kissing the back of my head because I'll already be down.
That was Andy.
The whole audience
That was the
just
genius of Andy.
There's just lines that are hysterical, that are phrasing things in a way I've never heard in a movie before.
Yeah.
But it's not like certain things. So when this was made, what was the reception in the beginning versus the cult status it's built over time?
That's pretty interesting, because we had made a deal with Lorimar, which was then years later folded into Warner Brothers. And they threw them on in the middle of the night in Showtime and HBO. And the following year, they were on primetime against each other. And then there was Joe Bob Briggs, the drive-in movie critic, who was a big fan of ours. And so he started interviewing us and the girls. So we became... But I never expected this kind of attention now. The theatrical...
Is this the first time it's gone around theatrically like
No,
this? Or
it
how long has
isn't.
it been doing that?
Well, forever. In fact, the first deal that we had with Warner Brothers we had a theatrical release obligation, and I was in charge of theatrical release. Well, I said, I haven't been lied to like that since I was 16. Oh my God. So we did the minimum that we had to do, and they accepted it. But that was rough. Against big movies.
Absolutely.
And we had no idea that when we were encouraged to spend a certain amount of money for promotion, that it didn't matter. We would never beat what was coming in, which was going to be a major release. So, so it cost us, money, but we kept on going.
But now it's gotten to the point where, Jesse and I were talking about this, and Jesse chimed in as well about this, and Ryan and I, we filmed our reactions after. I don't know, we can send you the video, because we were just our faces hurt from laughing. We just couldn't believe some of the hilarious things we saw on screen, and we were trying to figure out where it has a cult status. It should have the same cult status as something like The Room, but it's better as a film. You know what I mean? The Room gets cult status because it's so awkwardly bizarre and makes no sense. Right. But Hard Ticket to Hawaii, I feel is very... You and Andy were very aware of the tone you were going for, and making it this goofy, sexy, but fun, and just bonkers action film with beautiful women in it, with this 80s charm to it. Yeah. And so maybe it has... You said it was it's internationally it's playing and things like that.
Oh my goodness!
Right?
Yes, yeah.
That's crazy. That this is just me first coming onto this.
Right. We have bookings in Finland and somewhere in Australia. I did a Skype, but now we have everything is done via Skype. Everything is digitally done. So I was doing a Skype with Winnipeg, Canada. And it was the most raucous audience I've ever interacted with. And after the film, we were doing the Skype and the questions, and they're just screaming, "I love this fucking movie!" And then they were apologizing. "Oh, I'm so sorry. We shouldn't be that crude." I said, "Wait a second. You don't understand. Andy Sidaris. Nobody knew how smart he was because he couldn't make a sentence without using a 4-letter word. So I was not offended."
It's the most Canadian thing. Yeah, someone cursing and then being like, "I'm so sorry. I apologize. I was respectful." Girl.
Yeah.
I think so. The Lethal Ladies came about, and correct me if I'm wrong. What I've read about you and Andy is that, and you were talking about before the show. Andy started off doing sports coverage.
Yes.
Like he got an Emmy for the Olympics.
Many Emmys.
Many
But that
Emmys.
was the family joke.
Yeah.
That if he got another Emmy, the house would sink.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so then he was, and you were talking about this at the Q&A, how he was the first to turn the cameras on the cheerleaders,
That's
and that
right.
became kind of controversial at the time or now?
No, at the time. But now, in November, there was a story in Vanity Fair about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders and how they've been exploited, and meanwhile, they've been able to make careers from that experience. And, you know, if Andy was around now, they'd be stringing him up. But that was, you know, he created what was called the honey shot. And he looked, because he had been in college, he had been a journalism major, so he wanted to tell the whole story and not just the field. So he took the camera off the field and concentrated on the women.
Well, now it's funny. I went to a Lakers game recently, and the cheerleaders were so far off in the corner that they were literally just like almost against the wall cheering from the sideline and would come out for the halftime and stuff like that. But it used to be a much bigger
Very
bigger
big
deal.
You know who was a cheerleader at SMU was Aaron Spelling.
No way.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That was his start. Yeah.
So then you worked on Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys, like we were talking about before the show, and Andy directed one episode of Nancy Drew.
Yes, our executive.
From your reaction, I don't think that went well.
Our executive producer hired him.
Well, and he kept turning the cameras onto the cheerleaders, right? So that's not what the show is about.
No, I objected to a certain certain scene. I don't know if I was. I don't know how I was. I think that we really we never realized how competitive we were with each other. And that was one hint.
Yeah.
And then the first film that we did together.
Was that 7 or no?
No. That was The Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Okay, Hard Ticket to Hawaii was the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't produce Malibu Express. And one of the first days of production, I said, Andy, I think, and he said, you can stop right there.
Ooh, wow.
Well, I mean, it was embarrassing. People would just leave the room. You know?
Wow.
But we got past that. After the first film, we really did get past it. We realized that we were on the same side.
Totally. That happens with very creative and strong-willed people. My wife and I told you, we create stuff together. Jesse's witnessed a few of these. Where
a couple times.
Jesse and I used to do sketches all the time, and my direction to Jesse is much different than how I direct my wife. And we were doing this web series one time years ago that she had written, and I was directing the second unit because the director was busy that day. And the editor, when he watched the footage later on, he was like, Renee has about 5 takes of your direction before she starts getting annoyed with you. Because we have some outtakes where she's like, Ben, I'm doing that. I'm doing what you're saying. And I'm like, honey, I'm looking through the camera. I can tell you're not doing it, all right? Do you want me to play it back? And it's just so funny how, but we've grown to now accept each other's strengths and weaknesses and realize that when the other person is telling us something, that it's for the betterment of the project. But when you first start making stuff together, you're kind of stuck in your own ways. Like, this is how it's done. And then eventually you grow together and realize how to support each other, which from the interviews I've seen with you and Andy, it seems like that's how the process went.
Yeah. And I'm not so sure that I was so virtuous in my critique. I want it my way. No, I want it my way.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of that. But we got past that.
It's also something where, like, if two people never have a fight, then you never get to work out the kinks of whatever, and there's this tension built up. So you were able to work out the kinks.
We worked out a lot of kinks.
Great.
Yeah.
So from the sports coverage, where did Lethal Ladies come from? How did this impetus? Where was the impetus for this idea?
Well, did you ever see Cinema Paradiso? Mm-hmm. Andy said I was that little boy. That he used to go to Kansas City in the summertime, and his uncle owned some theaters. And while his uncle was dealing with whatever business he had, Andy would sit in with the projectionist and watch these movies, and they were black exploitation movies.
Oh,
yeah. So, and with women, as you know,
like Foxy Brown or
yeah, but not that. It was much before that. Before that. So that was his inspiration, and also he just really respected and admired women and thought that they were not featured as strong and as capable as they should be.
Yeah.
So that was it.
And speaking of the exploitation genre, when these came out, was there pushback from more conservative groups about or was it kind of so under their radar that it didn't matter? They weren't seeing it?
There wasn't, other than no, I don't think there was that kind of pushback from any conservative groups that there might be now, because everything's so visible. So I think it was under the radar. It was just even so, the Showtime or HBO sometimes. Showtime had come to us. They wanted to be the exclusive first TV release. And we made a deal with them, and then they wanted to see the first cut. And I said, oh, that's no good. Because I didn't trust their ability to really put themselves in the shoes of a producer and director. And while we were screening, there was not a sound. I said, oh my God, we're in trouble.
Oh, no.
So, and then they wanted some reshooting, and they wanted more nudity, and it was not our style. And so we wound up giving their money back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? What?
Yeah. It was very amicable.
Yeah.
We just said, no, this is not going to work. We're going to do it the way we do. Because the first thing they said to us, we're not going to tell Andy Sidaris how to do an Andy Sidaris film. And then they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we just said no.
So that's an interesting, and then I promise we're going to get into the plot in under 3 minutes. It will be the next thing. But my last question before we move on to that is, like, what was the barometer of how much nudity was too much? Because as we were watching it, Jesse and I kept commenting on how just like casual it is. Like they just come in and change, and and like every actress eventually comes in and changes for like a 90-second scene. But at the time, like I said, when I was a teenager, I was like, I can't believe this is happening in a movie. And now I watch it and I'm like, oh, it's actually less exploitative because it just feels so casual and like, okay, it's happening.
Yeah. Beautiful women, beautiful bodies. Why hide it?
Yeah.
I said, if I looked like that, I'd be unbuttoning
There's
now.
something very European about it. You know? Yeah.
Right.
And I also think it's pretty universal that everyone does their best thinking in the jacuzzi, right?
Right.
So like, why have people do less than their best?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But there was like, did you ever? Was it something where like you and Andy kind of agreed on the amount of?
Well, he would write the script. Every nude scene, every single thing was in the script, and every woman who was signed on knew exactly what was expected of her, and there was never anything more sexy or anything. It was all really clear. We were very good about that, as opposed to some other people.
Yeah, because I've heard that before, where people have been signed on to something, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, you're going to be naked," and it's like, "Wait, what? What?"
Yeah.
With the MPAA, did they ever give you any guff?
Hard ticket to Hawaii when the rubber doll is exploded.
Yeah.
They wanted to give us an X. They thought it looked too real.
Well,
Yes, I know. That's what I said.
Wait,
that's what I said.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I need about 5 seconds to process.
Yeah.
Out of everything in the movie, they wanted to make it an X rating because
of the blow up of the doll. Anyway, we got past it.
Wait, what looked too real? That they blew up a doll?
Yeah, they thought that it looked like a real person. I don't know. You know what? That was the first time,
crazy.
and after that, we never had any problem with the MPAA. But that was
that blows my mind.
Someone got shot in the face. Someone got sliced up with a frisbee. There was a snake exploding.
Nobody got shot in the face. Who got shot?
The Seth gets shot in the chin.
Got shot in the face.
Oh, in the chin.
I mean, that looks more realistic than the doll blow. Wow.
I can't believe what happened. I can't believe what I just saw.
God, okay, we got to do the plot in under 3 minutes because there's so many bonkers things in this movie to talk about. Are you ready in the booth there, Ryan? All right, Arlene, if you want to chime in or if you want to just let us, we might ask you for help if we forget something. Okay, let's see. I think I can do this. Okay. Okay, so it starts off with what's the very first scene? The boat.
They're on the boat.
And I know something else we can do with my body heat. And then there's the credits with the cardboard with all the boxes and the crates. And then there's this snake that the forklift hits and it breaks open. And you realize that the caution contaminated snake has been taken off. And then we are introduced to Donna and
Hope Marie.
Yes, Taryn in the movie is her name, right? Donna and Taryn. They're the two DEA agents.
Yes.
And they're transporting transporting these
one
two...
of them is undercover. One of them is a civilian, and she is
civilian.
just in her new life.
Yeah. And then they're transporting these tourists to Molokai via the Molokai plane, and then they have the snake on board that they're going to take to a wildlife place. And they drop that off, and they drop off the tourists, and then they come across the...
then there's like a drone that's taking the...
The Molokai cops get killed first.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Because they see a drug deal going on. Okay, keep going with
then the drone comes in, and they find it, and they're like, what's going on in here? They take it out.
Mr. Chang was on the boat setting it up.
And then there are the two people who come in to try and retrieve. And
Shades, skateboard dude, and Earring.
Yep, and so they get fought off by the two women, and the women run back to the helicopter, and but they only take one of the two.
Yeah.
And they go back to their place, and they're like, what are we going to do? They go in the jacuzzi. To think. They're like, we got to put this in the freezer. So they do that, and then they get tracked down by the two henchmen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And there's a fight in the house.
Yeah. And then that's where Seth sees the snake and then gets shot in the face.
Right. I can't believe what I just saw.
And then he's getting stitched up, and he's talking to Mr. Chang, who's like, he's saying that they have to kill them all. It doesn't matter. He's like, there's agents everywhere. And now we have Rowdy and what's the other guy's name? Rowdy?
Our ponytailed guy.
Ponytail guy. I'm shirtless ponytail guy. And they're coming to the island to help out, and they first come across a skateboarding assassin with a blow-up doll, and they take care of him via bazooka, and then they drive off, and they meet up with the lethal ladies. There's these scenes at the restaurant where Edie's, and she's taken hostage.
Well, they're trying to get in touch with them, but they can't.
They can't.
Because they're at the hospital, and the women are going to pick them up, but then Edie runs them off the road.
Yeah.
And then,
Edie gets run off the road.
Edie gets kidnapped.
Run off the road and kidnapped.
Poor
and then Donna and Taryn are doing surveillance, and they find out that this guy, the Shades, takes a break with a frisbee every day at a certain hour. So then they make this big plan. There's some sex scenes that happen in between, one sex scene specifically, and then they do this big plan to go and make a raid on Seth's compound. There's explosions. There's drones. There's a glider. They blow up a helicopter.
So many different transportation modes here.
They blow up a helicopter with a bazooka. They shoot a guy out a window with a bazooka, and then they think everything's fine. They come back. There's the poisonous snake that kills Seth. They blow up the poisonous snake. Then they go to Mr. Chang. They shoot him out the window, and then everybody's happy.
And they hand-to-hand combat beat up the security guard. Yes.
And then Taryn can take the gold.
Yeah, Taryn can take the gold. It's so great. At the end of the movie, when she's
so smart. She was so smart.
She's like, technically, I'm not a secret agent. I could take it. The entire audience died laughing because we're like, all these other secret agents. Oh, it's so good. Oh my God. I'm so excited to talk about this. Okay, so first and foremost, I don't even know where to begin with this. The DEA agents, their uniforms are like these cut-off short shorts, and
they may be for sale someday on the website.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That could be great cosplay. That would be awesome.
I asked Donna if she wanted hers so she could frame it.
That would be. So is that in Andy's mind? And I believe they come back in. Is that the standard issue uniform for the Molokai?
Yes.
Yeah, for
Molokai cargo. Yes. Everybody knows that.
It's hot in Hawaii. Right. You know? You can't
and
wear
those arm things are so big. Oh my God. Yeah.
But it's so
less than fitted.
Where did the idea for this? Let's just start with the snake. Where did the idea for a contaminate and I love that it's like Chekhov's contaminated snake, where we don't find out
the classic Chekhov's contaminated
Andy Sidaris
snake.
and Chekhov, so close.
So close. You know, the seagull and this are very similar. Maybe it's closer to Three Sisters. Anyways, that's me being a theater nerd. Okay, so there's you find out in the beginning that the snake is contaminated, and as I'm watching it as a newbie, I'm like, oh, is it going to break out here, or what's going to happen? But then I didn't even put two and two together that the danger sign was taken off, so that they accidentally take the... As if a snake isn't poisonous and deadly enough. This one has been... Let's just play the justification of the sound clip, the cancer-infested. Clip number 5, please.
86, over.
Donna, this is Dixon. I want you to listen carefully to everything I have to say. Okay? We had a snake delivered here for the Department of Health. Now, that snake has been infected by deadly toxins from cancer-infested rats. It's a very dangerous snake. It'll kill anybody it comes in contact with. Are you still there, Donna?
Yeah.
No. All right.
I went to Long Island.
My motors made a mistake.
I love how Combs. There's so many.
There's a lot of things to unpack here, right?
There's so many incredible things. So already it looks like some sort of python or some sort of really dangerous snake already that would kill somebody if they got bit and there wasn't a hospital in Molokai nearby.
Incredible bad luck for everyone involved that there was a contaminated snake and a regular snake, both there, and they're just.
And there's never been a snake on Molokai.
No, sir, not a boxed snake for sure.
And I love that just the specific absurd detail of being infected by cancer-stricken rats. Infested rats.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did that happen? Where are those rats?
Exactly. Maybe the real issue is we need to find these cancer-infested rats.
They could be downtown LA today.
I think I've seen a few of them.
Are they equally homicidal, do you think, the rats?
We haven't dealt with that.
Okay.
You know, it might have been dealt with in a future film, but you know, unfortunately.
Now you have to watch all 12 to find out if the cancer-infested rats come back. Right. Where did that idea come from? Because Andy has said in interviews that he wrote scripts in like 4 days. Is that just something that like he just figures out?
No, he would really think about it and then he would sit down and write it.
He said he would like plot it out in his head for 2 weeks or so.
Every single thing is from his crazy mind.
Was there ever an idea he came up with that you were like, that's too absurd?
No.
Because these, like by modern day standards, all this stuff is so bonkers it couldn't exist nowadays. Like, do you think that a movie like this could be made in 2019?
I'm surprised it got made in. It was our own money, so that tells you something, you know.
But the cancer-infested rats is such an absurd and amazing thing.
Crazy.
And just even how like kind of ingenious and perfect for the tone of this film to film the credits practically on the boxes.
Yeah, because it was a cheap way of doing it, by the way.
Yeah. I did that in 7th grade when I was making movies.
Maybe that's where he got it.
I'm sorry,
huge influence.
Yeah,
and then I actually did it on a dry erase board, and we'd have an arrow pointing to each of us as the stars.
That's good.
In junior year of high school, I graduated to I did a Star Wars spoof in Spanish, and I had the opening credit crawl, like the beginning of Star Wars, on a piece of paper that I just slowly moved in front of the camera. So when I saw this, I was like,
good for you.
Hey, that's really kind of cool and ingenious.
Something I would do.
Yeah.
Right?
There's this homemade quality to these movies that's really fun. Yeah. And the snake, I love that, like, Jesse and I were talking, we'll just talk about the snake and the let's talk chronologically about the snake.
Great.
And then we'll go back to
the story arc of the snake.
Because, Jesse, remind me what you were saying. You were saying, like, you would forget it was there, and then it would pop up again? Is that what
and then
saying?
it would just come back. Yeah, because it's not primarily what we're focused on. We're obviously focused on the jewels and people coming to, you know, figure this whole thing out. Where are the other jewels? We got to kill these agents, whatever the case may be. And it would just at the perfect spot every single time the snake would come back. And you're like, oh yeah, there's a contaminated snake on the loose.
And the audience, every time the snake showed up, would just roar with laughter. Yeah. Especially when there's like that Jurassic Park type scene where the snake comes out and kills the poor honeymooners that are just trying to take some sweet Polaroids. Yeah. And then he gets bit in the face.
It's a real shame.
And now you don't want to know anything about the sound of the snake?
I do want to know.
Well, I'm going to tell you about that because we're laying down the sound at the final stages, and I'm saying I need something. So I call the guy that created the snake, and I said, "What should we do about that?" He said, "I am a snake ventriloquist."
What is it? I need to know more. Yeah.
So he came in and he went. That was it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So all the snake sound effects is just your snake ventriloquist. And since then he's gone on to a very long and lucrative career.
I said, how did you come to be creating all these things? He said, well, I used to like to scare people. Yeah. Okay.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And it builds to, let's just show the clip. We're going to show the video that it builds to. So there's this, actually, no, I'm sorry. We have to do the bad guy screaming at the snake. So up until this moment, this is clip number 7. Up until this moment, Seth has been this pretty ominous drug lord type character, you know, something out of modern day Narcos. And then turns out he and Indiana Jones have something in common because you hear it. Here, let's play it again just because I was talking over it. Because he sees a snake that, from what I could tell, the way it was filmed is pretty far away from him, but he loses his shit. Let's play it again. It's as if he's never seen a snake before, and he's just had these nightmares since he was a child, and it now finally appeared.
Or he's a snake expert, and he knows that this snake is contaminated
by cancer-infested rats.
So he's either very smart or very scared.
I love just
or both.
It's so great, the detail of him just yelling like, "Get away! Get away!"
But I am away.
It's like the snake couldn't be further away. We've talked at length about the best thinking in the jacuzzi, so let's just play that clip. Clip number 4.
Taryn, we need to figure out what just happened. Let's unload and hit the jacuzzi. I do my best thinking there. Right, I'll get the dolly.
The audiences explode with that one.
So good.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, was that written as a joke or just to justify the next scene?
You have to ask Andy.
Yeah. Okay. Because I often wonder.
When it was all with a sense of humor. About it, you know.
Yeah. It feels like a very self-aware movie that's not trying to be anything other than what it is. It's just goofy.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely not trying to be anything but what it is.
And I've stumbled across what nowadays would be like the equivalent of this, which I think pales in comparison, is like what they call Skinamax films. And they're usually just bad. They're like not funny. They're just like, kind of like pseudo Lifetime dramas with sex scenes in them. And I love that these have so much humor and ridiculousness. The weapons, the arsenal in this movie is insane. Jesse, what was you said something about the rocket launchers, the varying degrees of damage.
Yeah. Well, so we can talk about the weapons across the board.
Let's do the weapons next.
Because Ben noted right after we got out of the theater, it was the hardest and most excited I've ever laughed in a movie when they took a bazooka out and blew up our skateboarding guy.
Yeah.
But it was just so funny to me, the varying degrees that the different weapons inflicted damage on people, because we had the couple people that were shot.
Oh, we have all these clips.
Yeah, good.
We have all the bazooka clips we can
right
show.
now. We had a couple people shot with guns that survived. We had bazookas that completely obliterated things, and it didn't matter at which, like how far away we were. We were still using them, which I thought was great. And then we had the frisbee. We had hand-to-hand combat. We had all degrees.
It has everything.
The sumo wrestlers.
And the sumo wrestling. I forgot about the sumo wrestling, which is phenomenal.
Where did he come up with that?
I have no idea. I was going to ask you that.
I know.
Just a passion of his?
I don't think so.
Do you now? Why? And they asked you this at the Q&A as well. Why do you think people have just glommed on a Hard Ticket to Hawaii as their cult favorite? Do any of the other films have as big of a following as
No,
this?
not at all. I'm hoping to, to create more of a. I don't know. I think it's the snake.
Snake.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, because do any of them have? I know there's a common thread throughout them, which Dona Speir was in a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then later on, Julie Strain was in a bunch of them, and then. Starting in this one, I don't know if it was in Malibu Express before this, but there's a lot of remote control weapons.
Yeah,
There's the drone and the helicopter that has the diamonds, and there's a ton of stuff being blown up, which I was watching somebody who was covering all the Lethal Ladies movies, and they were talking about how amazing it is every time a little tiny boat or something blows up a huge thing, because like how much dynamite is packed into this little tiny car. And I love that it doesn't matter.
You can't ask that question.
It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
That's the greatest thing, where the internal logic, as long as it's entertaining, I feel like was that kind of yours and Andy's?
Oh, absolutely. As long as you had a good time. I can't tell you how many times people would come up and say, "Don't you want to do something better?" I'd say, no. What's better than this? I mean, we had so much independence. You know, it was our money and our deal. Yeah. It was a special time. Yeah.
It's so awesome. We got to keep. There's so many. Look at this. We're on 8 of 16. Can we show the clip of Seth getting shot in the face? Because Donna blasts him in the face. And Jesse and I laughed so hard because you're not expecting it. It's the main bad guy,
and he gets shot in the face.
You expect like maybe because we talk about this all the time on the show. How in action movies, it seems like whenever the good guy, even in the first John Wick, when he has the bad guy in his sights, finally he suddenly doesn't have perfect aim. And this is the reverse, where like Donna immediately shoots him in the face. So
and Rowdy has terrible aim.
Well, I was going to say
that's the best.
I was
consistently.
Gonna say, he missed. That's why he uses the bazooka, right?
That's right.
The only thing Rowdy can hit things with is a bazooka. That's so fantastic to me. Can we play this video? Oh, here we go. Watch. It's so good. Instantly. I also love.
And then she says, "Donna, what did you just do?"
I know. And then in fact,
I thought I'd be fine with this. I don't know what
And then there's this kind of tender moment afterwards where she's reminiscing about her dad and like how her dad was the greatest agent the government ever had, like in the entire government. No one had ever been better than him.
That was actually our agent, Bill Donnelly.
That's fantastic. But so and I love that there's some remorse after shooting this dude in the face who's a bad person.
Well, the woman has a heart.
She does.
Yeah.
You know, if this was James Bond, he'd be like, he had a license to kill. He's allowed to, you know? And there's a ton of James Bond, Taryn, Hope's character, Hope, right?
Yeah.
Taryn mentions she keeps cracking James Bond jokes. Was that a heavy influence for
Oh, absolutely.
Andy?
Loved James Bond. And Warner Brothers promotes the films as James Bond meets Baywatch. Which is
Didn't you say like Jaywatch or something?
No.
I thought I
Did
heard
I?
it.
Or maybe
it was like slang for James Bond meets Baywatch. That makes sense.
That's how they promote it. Yeah.
You know, it's weird. I've rewatched some of the old James Bond movies recently, and some of them are more misogynistic than people could claim these are. Because like
yes.
in
he'll poke anyone.
In From Russia with Love, he has sex with a woman and then slaps her in the face and throws her in the back of a cop car. And I was like, what?
We would never do that.
I was like, what? This is so problematic. But aside from the maitre d', you know?
Oh, yeah, but that's just talk.
Yeah, that's just talk.
Yeah.
That's just talk. And Andy plays even a guy who's a little bit of just talk.
Yes.
And there's that whole sports thing. Was that kind of a throwback to
That was his
time?
Absolutely. Yeah. That
like
was
a nod to his old career?
Yeah. You know,
I
he
love
used
that.
all of his resources.
Yeah. And how long was the shoot for this?
All of them were about 24 days and traveling also. I mean, we went to, 4, 5, 6 states.
Really?
Yes. And we we went. We were all over the place.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. We worked hard.
Like, where all did this shoot?
Well, we were in Hawaii. We were in. Were we in? I don't think we were in Shreveport because Andy grew up in Shreveport, and oh my God, when we went back there, they treated us like kings. I mean, they were just incredible to us. Texas, Dallas, because he went to school in Dallas.
Yeah.
A little bit in Los Angeles, which was a chore.
It still is.
I think it's worse now. But
anytime you try to shoot we tried to shoot like a short film at a coffee shop, and they were a pain in the ass here. It's real rough.
Yeah, it is tough. Anyway, so we would travel. We would work hard, but we did not go over the allowed number of hours per day.
How many hours were there? Like 8 to 12 or something?
No. About 16 hours
wow.
a day. I think you can work between
Yeah.
makeup and all that. But we stayed within SAG regulations always.
That's so cool.
We worked our asses off really hard.
Yeah.
Really, really hard.
I mean, there's some the third act of this has some elaborate set pieces in it. There's the martial arts fight. There's the hang gliding or the glider.
Yeah, all the gliders.
Well, and all the stunts as well.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned the skateboard a couple times. The guy falls out of the window.
Yeah.
We got
That was Los Angeles.
Was it?
Yeah, I was in the Valley with the Warner Center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we did, kind of sneak a few things.
Oh.
I would say,
as you should.
I always say, I'm going to stay home by the phone when you get arrested.
We've been talking this skateboard scene up, so Ryan, I want to show the clip from this. And also, let me know if we have a little bit of time to go over. Do we, by any chance?
I will let you know.
Okay, perfect.
We have the skateboard scene.
Yes, let's. This. I want to just watch this whole thing. It's fantastic.
Magic.
Here we go.
Hang on, Ronnie. We got some nutcase in front of us.
That's an impressive stunt right there.
Man, he must be smoking some heavy doobies.
It's good core strength out of him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this guy's a champion.
It's incredible.
Whatever he is. But he's a great guy.
Come on! Move it, Aaron. They're just up ahead.
All right, so for those listening, the guy was skateboarding on his hands, and then he meets up with the truck. The truck is pulling around our agents.
And there's a random sex doll in the passenger seat.
Random sex doll.
Takes him everywhere. And he pulls up just far enough to then...
So that he can then skateboard back down, holding the sex doll.
Embracing, I would say.
Embracing. With the gun behind the sex doll.
He doesn't have the greatest plan to attack two secret agents, you know?
He's just doing the best he can.
He's on the... Yeah, it's on the fly.
That's all we ever had.
He shoots the tire. He shoots the tire. Now the agents... Oh, and he shoots...
Yes.
Jay.
Our guy. Jay, right in the chest.
Yeah.
Let's get that turkey.
I mean, he does have big pecs, so it can take a bullet and it's just a flesh wound.
So now our agents are backing up.
And then, just because that sex doll pissed him off...
He couldn't let it go.
That's just target practice at that point.
Oh, God.
It's so good.
It's the only gun I can hit a moving target with.
It's the only gun I can hit a moving target with.
You did a good voice.
When that scene happened in the theater, Jesse laughed so hard he hopped out of his seat and punched me.
That is true.
He
That's
literally
a true
was
story.
like, ah! He couldn't. I've never seen Jesse McIntosh laugh so hard at something. I think,
my goodness.
I think it was the 1-2 punch of just how absurd it is that he's getting shot. And then the added blowing up of the sex doll, I would never imagine doing in my life.
Who would harm a sex doll? For what purpose?
Such a good point. It was the 1-2-3 punch of them backing into him and launching him into the air at the right height and the right distance for him to bazooka, and the guy explodes, but the sex doll goes free. And then he doesn't let the sex doll get away with it.
Yeah,
Hey,
when you put it that way, it gives me a whole other point of view.
My backstory was that Rowdy, when he was younger and before he hit the gym, maybe had a sex doll, and his girlfriend at the time found it and shamed him. And so he's carried that with him ever since. And since then, he's like, I will destroy anything that reminds me of this heartbreak.
Do you think then
It's
that
very good.
he was aiming for
You
the
should have
sex
met Andy,
doll?
because I think you're nearly as crazy.
My wife would agree. My wife would totally agree with that.
Do you think he was aiming for the sex doll then
Maybe.
and missed the first time?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. Yes. Given the benefit of the doubt.
So now we oh god, there's so many scenes in this. There's a random scene where the henchwoman is she's working out with nunchucks and just was she like a female bodybuilder or something?
Yes.
She was
champion.
ripped.
Yeah. And pretty.
Yeah.
Really pretty.
Now, the only issue I have with this movie is I wanted to see her use the nunchucks. I wanted to see her whoop some
we
ass
found
with
out
that.
later, because we didn't know a lot of this stuff, that nunchucks are a real no-no in England for one place.
Really?
Yeah. We didn't know. We could have been banned in England if she had used. Yeah.
Is that why when Taryn brings them out, she just chucks them at the
No,
guy's
it
face?
isn't why. She just did. We didn't use it. we didn't use it, but we didn't. Later, we found out how terrible they were in England.
So in America, you can't blow up inflatable dolls, and in England, you can't use nunchucks. I'm learning a lot about the weird restrictions.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't go over, so we have to do the frisbee scene next. Let's just show this scene because if you haven't seen this movie, these are the 3 most absurd scenes. But don't worry, the movie still has amazing other moments that you have to witness to believe. So let's.
But I have to admit that scene with all the blood, I did object to.
The frisbee.
Yeah. When I was wrong, obviously, because people love it.
It's got so many hits on YouTube. It's crazy.
Not only that, but now Mill Creek sends frisbees to the theaters, and they go crazy.
I want a frisbee, Mill Creek. Are you listening?
I'll get you one.
Yeah,
because they wanted to send me a supply. I thought I don't.
The razor blades are dull on the ones you're going to give us, right? I hope so.
You'll see.
Spoiler alert: there's razor blades in the frisbee. Let's play this clip real quick. So good.
You don't look so hot to me.
I love how competitive Shades is with this frisbeeing. the switch out.
Yeah, let's have it. This is for the Molokai cops.
Oh, the slow motion build up.
Right through the fingers onto the neck.
And then this is the best. Yeah.
Yes.
My favorite thing about this movie is these are government agents who specifically the guys, obliterate bodies left and right and then just leave the dead bodies there. And there's no like, hey, we got to radio this in to have somebody come collect it.
No.
It's the
Listen,
best.
they're on a mission right now. They can't bother with.
That's
and,
why,
and it's Molokai. Who would go to Molokai? Who cares?
Such a good point.
Exactly.
That's what I thought when I didn't register with the unions, but I was wrong about that too. Oh yeah, but then we got to be friends.
That's that scene because it's set up where they're Donna and Taryn are doing surveillance, and they see that he competitively frisbees.
This guy loves frisbee more than anything in the world.
Yeah, he loves surveilling his compound for Seth, but frisbee is his jam.
It's his passion.
And it's such an amazing scene. We have a few clips that we'll show back to back that show the varying degrees of bazooka damage. So Ryan, can we do those pretty quick? I know. Okay, so this is bazooka where it just punches the guy out the wall. It doesn't explode.
It doesn't explode him.
And again, Rowdy can only hit things if he has a giant softball-sized bullet. And now this is Donna wasting with the same bazooka a helicopter at the end.
She's good.
That's so awesome.
She's good.
And now can we show the single greatest clip potentially in film history where the bazooka kills the poisonous snake? This is one of my favorite moments I've literally ever seen in my life. Maybe we should show the toilet build-up first. Let's do the toilet. We got to build up to it. So before we play this, Ryan, we'll set this up.
Set it up.
As we talked about, the cancer-infested rats infested this snake, which apparently the snake is impervious to cancer, and it just spreads it.
But the snake is going to self-destruct, I think, within 36 hours. Isn't that? Didn't someone say that?
I think they said something like that, where the snake will die off
It'll
eventually.
die off in 36 hours.
Oh, we forgot about the sandwich note, too.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's this amazing moment where like a courier comes up with a styrofoam to-go container, and there's a note in the sandwich, and then they light it on fire after they read it.
Yeah, because who knows? Somebody
such
can see that.
Amazingly like campy
Crazy.
nod
He's
to Mission
silly.
Impossible, you know?
Yeah.
And so the snake buildup is that it's snuck into Donna's pipes.
Yes.
Her sewage pipes after Seth got shot in the face and screamed. And now this is after they've defeated Seth and or they thought they defeated him. He escaped. They're not sure where he is. They've defeated all the other bad guys. There's these amazing shootouts and just awesome, ridiculous action. And then Donna's come home to just dab off some of the sweat and relax, maybe go do some thinking in the jacuzzi. But before that, she flushes the toilet and this happens. Oh my God, I love this so much. And this snake explodes out of the toilet.
It is illuminated.
Illuminated.
It's glowing.
It's contaminated.
Yes.
Everyone knows contaminated snakes glow.
She's very lucky that she didn't catch any of that.
You're right.
I was worried.
It could be airborne, water transferred, who knows?
That's right.
Now there's this awesome extended buildup that we don't have time for, and in fact you have to buy it on Blu-ray to watch it.
Please buy this movie.
It's
Watch
so
it.
fun.
It's hysterical.
Because there's a great face-off between Seth and the snake at the end.
Yes.
That pays off similar to me the way that the merman pays off in Cabin in the Woods, where like his worst fear is the thing that kills him, and it's so fun. But this is when Donna shoots off two of the fangs of the snake, and then Rowdy comes in, and Donna even commented on this at the Q&A, where she was like, Rowdy comes in at the end and just like immediately he crashes through the wall somehow knowing there's a snake there. I love it. Let's watch this scene. She's shooting off the last of the fangs, and Rowdy comes in. Uh-oh.
A bazooka. Oh God. Oh,
just gets the head.
Yeah.
Just knocks the head right off.
And the best thing is that the whole house shakes from it.
Yeah.
And I love that he has such perfect aim with this bazooka.
Well,
it can blow up a helicopter or just the minute, tiny head of a contaminated
He has
snake.
gotten a lot of practice over the last couple of days with this bazooka, and he's honed his skills. She also did mention, like, she had it covered.
Yeah.
Like, Donna was saying that in the Q&A.
Right.
She's like, I had it.
I just
had the
shot off
snake.
the two fangs.
Yeah,
all right?
I didn't need you to ruin my house.
So there's Safe to Pee. Let's play this. This is right after that.
That line has been repeated.
It's so good.
Throughout the world.
Would you believe up through the toilet?
Just when you thought it was safe to take a pee.
I often think that at almost every public restroom I ever go into, where I'm like, you look at the stall, you're like, oh, just when you thought it was safe to take a pee.
I can't tell you how many times I get news flashes around the world where snakes have come out of toilets.
What?
Truly. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, in the Philippines. I don't know how it happens.
This is horrifying.
Yeah,
no.
no,
So
we don't
what
go to
you're-
the Philippines.
So what you're saying is Hard Ticket to Hawaii is a cautionary tale about toilet snakes.
Yeah,
This is a
I didn't put it
PSA.
as succinctly as that, but yes.
It's a cautionary tale. Andy was making cautionary tales.
Yeah.
There's something that are these sound clips that we have left or not, Ryan? I can't. Yeah, play it. Play the describing the bodyguard because that's my favorite. The build up for Mr. Chang's bodyguard.
Oh, yes.
Who the hell is this Chang guy, anyhow?
He's the brains. Chinese father, British mother. Raised in Hong Kong and London. Educated, suave, merciless. His bodyguard's a sadistic killer. Chang keeps him happy at his work.
Do we have a video clip of when they beat down the bodyguard?
Part of it, I'll play right here.
Oh God. Okay, so we just got that. Here, wait one second. So we just got that big buildup of this bodyguard, and then let's play this video for everybody because he immediately gets beaten senseless.
He,
by...
first of all, had his back to the door, which I don't recommend bodyguards.
Bodyguards don't
Yeah.
So let's play this. It's so good.
Hey, what do you want?
Joya? Tear them in half.
No, what? They just.
It just like brutally beats him up.
It's so good. So much for being a sadistic killer. He just gets his ass handed to him.
By two people, one at a time. I love this.
The audience, we were all.
And Chang just stands there.
Yeah, he's.
And then
He's above
I
it
didn't
all.
like him that much.
And then there's the great moment.
Yeah. I guess I can't rip up that check.
Yeah.
That paycheck.
So good. There's this amazing moment after that where they both pull out their guns, and Donna, like you were both saying at the Q&A, saves the day by actually being able to aim. Because Mr. Chang throws the sword, misses them because she shoots him in the with the giant dirty hairy gun, the Magnum that she has.
The women prevail.
Yeah, Ryan has been dying to know this. Is there a backstory to the razor blade frisbee, or is that just something he came up with?
Just something that came out of that head. I have no explanation whatsoever.
Love it. That kind of makes it even better. That
No,
there's not like,
no. It wasn't like, oh, it came from. No, it was just crazy
let's
funny.
put some razor
but
blades in
not
there.
funny, but crazy.
Oh, I think it's hilarious.
There were a thorough amount of razor blades on that frisbee too.
Yeah.
That was he had coverage.
He was just making sure it didn't
Yeah.
because imagine if you left one side open and it just the dull
And it
side
missed.
hit.
Oh,
Yeah.
No.
That guy's gonna reach for that machine gun, you know. Shades. Did he?
No, Shades would still want to play frisbee. He'd
would.
be like, "Where's the real frisbee?
Where's the real
Come on,
frisbee?"
let's get back to tossing."
So I know we wanted to talk about. We only have a couple minutes left. So this is Donna's book.
Donna's book.
Can they get this at AndySidaris.com as well?
There's a link.
Okay.
There will be a link.
Naked
but-
Truth: The Fall and Rise of Dona Speir.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
So there's more behind that beautiful face.
I love it.
Yeah.
And they can get all of. Are you on Twitter and Instagram or anything like that?
I have to ask my assistant.
Okay, Malibu Films is on there.
Yes.
Malibu Films is on
Yeah.
there. But if they want to get any of this stuff, they go to AndySidaris.com.
Yes. And we'll definitely get them to buy this book on her site.
They can get the 12 Girls, Guns, and G-Strings, the 12 DVD, the 12 film set on DVD. Or you can get, there's 2 at a time they're releasing these. I picked up Hard Ticket to Hawaii and Malibu Express. But I'm very excited to get Picasso Trigger and Savage Beach as well. And they're just going to keep coming out. So please check out Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Let us know what you thought. Let us know if you've been a fan of this forever and you knew about it and we're just now discovering it. And Arlene, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Really, my pleasure.
We really appreciate it.
It was a blast.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Until next time, what is your guilty movie pleasure?
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.